Let's stay with politics and start our whistle-stop tour, which we always do around this time, of giving you a sense of what our specialist desks will be doing in the coming days. And from the politics team, I'm joined by Lulama Matya, SABC News acting parliamentary editor. Good afternoon to you, Lulama. So we start there, right at the end of my conversation with Buti Manamela, the National General Council of the ANC, under the spotlight in the coming days.
Good afternoon, Tulas and SABC viewers. Yes, indeed. This week from tomorrow, the NGC kicks off at Beachwood Hotel in Gauteng. Well, this NGC comes at a time, Tulas, when the ANC is facing serious challenges when it comes to election. It has declined. We know that it was once the ruling party winning elections with outright majority, but last year's general elections, it did not get the majority, and then a government of national unity was formed. Next year, we're going to local government elections, and some of the key metros in this country, the ANC lost a majority in them years ago. So this NGC, again, it's happening at a crucial time, when the country is going for local government elections and the ANC is facing those challenges of electoral decline. So it's going to be very important as to what is it that they are going to do as this NGC in dealing with those challenges as in preparation for next year's local government elections. Again, Tulas, we know that the NGC is where the ANC takes stock of what has happened in the past and going forward. It's happening again this time when there is a government of national unity. The ANC is no longer having that outright majority, being the ruling party at provincial and national government. Its policies that the party has are policies that are being implemented for the country as a whole. But now it's going to be interesting. What policies are they going, what changes, what amendments are they going to do, and how those amendments are going to be effective or implemented going forward, because they are no longer now the ruling party. There is a government of national unity, and going forward to the next general elections, no one knows what will happen. I think another thing, Tulas, that the party maybe we South Africans think should look at is the issue of corruption. How are they dealing decisively with the issue of corruption?
Yeah.
Because if you're speaking to political analysts, the majority of them will say the root cause of electoral decline in the ANC is how they are dealing with corruption. Their ineffectiveness in dealing with it, because the voters believe that the party is not dealing decisively with corruption. It's not removing those corrupt individuals from the party. They will come up and say that it's not the ANC's individuals, but voters don't see what is it that they are doing to deal with that. Other things, Tulas, that the discussion document the ANC is expected to look at is assessment of this 30-year democracy. Well, I think it's not a good thing for them, because they are no longer in power. 30 years ago, they had outright majority. They were in full control, municipalities, local, provincial, and national government. So I think that discussion of assessing the 30 years of democracy, it's going to be critical for this year's NGC going forward, because they would want to make sure that come next year's local government election, especially when one of the tripartite alliance partners is saying that they will contest elections on their own. So
Yeah.
it's those critical issues that this NGC is going to deal with.
Right.
Tulas.
So speaking of that, Lulama, I mean, as you were talking about the perception of how the ANC grapples with corruption, there was actually a line. It was a specific line. I remember it very clearly a couple of years ago in one of their discussion documents where they were making the diagnosis that the perception is that, quote unquote, the ANC is soft on corruption. So speaking of that, building off that theme, tell me what we're looking at as far as the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry is concerned. A spanner in the works has been thrown in the killing of a witness there, and it's requiring a lot of various engagements and perhaps a change of the rules here and there, especially around witness protection. Which direction will this story go?
The presidency told us yesterday on that came out very strongly, saying that they are going to beef up and heighten security around witnesses and officials at the Madlanga Commission. Remember, this commission was established by the president himself after those explosive allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system. So the eyes are now on government because South Africans want to see how is government going to make sure that whistleblowers and witnesses are protected, because there has been an outcry to us from years ago that whistleblowers are not protected enough in this country, and there is no legislation in place that is going to protect whistleblowers. Some are saying that witnesses want to come out, but they fear that they will be victimized and not protected. So the killing of witness D, who testified at the Madlanga Commission, indeed threw a spanner in the wheel. And the expectation is that also the NGC should be able to look into that, to see to it that witnesses are protected, that the beefing up of security that the president was talking about yesterday, that is going to be beefed up, is indeed seen and is practical, and people can see that witnesses are protected, because this commission is very crucial. Again, it's coming at a time when the ANC is facing serious challenges, and some are saying to us in some quarters that it should be a test for them to see the decisiveness, the effectiveness of them dealing with corruption, so that people don't lose hope even in going to vote, because some people are saying that actually it was the IEC that was presenting here in Parliament, saying that it's political parties, it's some of the institutions in this country, it's some of the corruption that we see in this country that makes voters being despondent and not going and not wanting to go out and vote. So next year being elections, it's going to be very crucial for this Madlanga Commission to be dealt with decisively by the Government of National Unity, by the ANC, and everyone involved, so that it can make voters upbeat and go and vote next year.
Right. So let's talk about the last story that you're looking at. It's got diplomatic elements to it, but also it's a governance story in the sense that, you know, from an executive perspective, government dealing with this exclusion of South Africa from the first Sherpas meeting of the G20 presidency of the United States.
I think to us that one, South Africans, even the government, was expecting that. It has been long coming that something of this nature was going to happen. I don't think the government was surprised with that. There were signs as early as when the South Africa was hosting the G20 Leaders Summit, that immediately when South Africa is handing over the baton to the United States, there will be those cold and tension relationship. So, but I think what is important to us that South Africans should focus on is how government is handling this situation. The Minister of International Relations and Cooperations, Ronald Lamola, came out strongly indicating that South Africa is not going to bend. South Africa is not going to change its policies. We know the history of South Africa, the history of apartheid, and how now the government is looking at redressing the imbalances of the past. So Minister Lamola was very vocal on that and clear and precise that South Africa is not going to bend its policies to accommodate the United States of America. So I don't think in as much as our government would have loved to be part of the G20 next year, its exclusion on it, I think, as the presidential spokesperson Vincent Magwenya indicated, that South Africa will be taking a commercial vacation until the UK takes over the G20 presidency. But I think, Tulas, the US, some are saying that the US is missing out on South Africa's negotiating skills. They are missing out on South Africa's participation, because when heads, Tulas, are getting together, negotiating, discussing, you don't know what the best way forward will come out from. So the US is missing out on that.
All right, let's leave it there. That's Lulama Matya, who is our acting parliament editor at SABC News, just giving you a sense of where the story, the political story, will go over the next few days.